Hey, so hi, Facebook and YouTube family. I have today another fitness talk, this time around with Miss Fiona Campbell. Just to give you a little brief about Fiona, Fiona has been in the nutrition and fitness business for about 15 years, giving advice to athletes, sports enthusiasts, as well as regular people just like me and you. Fiona has got a very impressive resume. She was in the Miss Fitness Model World Competition in 2008. She has done bodybuilding competitions from 2011 and in fact came second. And in 2014, she did Miss Figure Short and came fourth. So congratulations to Fiona on all of them super titles. And just to let everyone know, Fiona, we are really impressed and honored to have you talking about nutrition and fitness. So welcome to the show, Fiona.
I'm super happy to be here, and I appreciate being able to be a part of your video.
Excellent. Well, so Fiona, look, nutrition is your game, but obviously you've been in the fitness industry. Not only that, you've been into several different competitions and got really high places as well. Second in one competition, fourth in another one. That's really impressive. So you obviously know a lot about fitness, but your passion, I believe, is nutrition, right? So,
That's right. They
so
go hand in hand, but I really enjoy nutrition because it never gets boring. So there's always something different to learn and new studies coming out all the time.
okay, yeah. So Fiona, look, I get a question asked so many times, and maybe my answer hasn't been right, but I want to ask you, obviously, is last year I was trying so hard to gain weight, and I did gain. I gained about 30 pounds of muscle, which was incredible for me, but then was really struggling to cut, meaning, cut, having a diet in a way where it can take my fat away. So I get the definition. And
Mhm.
can you just explain to everyone why I simply can't follow your diet? Because it may not work the same for me. Is that right?
That's correct. Everybody is different. Everybody has a different biochemistry. Everybody's different in their genetic makeup. So there is no cookie cutter diet that's going to work for everybody. Everybody is different ages, different times in their life, as well as different goals. Not to mention men and women are different in their metabolism rate, and as well as they're different. Women have a lot of different hormonal functions, where men have a totally different ball game. Women are prehistorically known to be able to keep fat on because they're going to be bearing young eventually, where men, they don't have to worry about that. They can eat a little more calories and not have to worry about if that's going to go to their butt or their hips.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's use me as an example. What would be uh, is there anything that you would recommend, something more for me than a woman of my age, roughly with the same exercise habits, or is it?
Yeah, usually I would say for women in your age, definitely doing weight bearing exercise is going to be very important because as we age, we lose bone density. So by doing gentle weight resistance training, you're going to be able to increase the bone density. And also women have to really watch what kind of carbohydrates and how many calories a day they're ingesting because the estrogen levels drop at our age. We seem to accumulate more fat deposits, especially around the belly area. Where men, they also want to increase their bone density. They want to maintain their testosterone levels. And one of those ways is by actually doing some weight training.
Hmm.
And then so everybody, men and women, depending on their height, age, their caloric output, what they're doing during the day, or what sort of activities they are doing after work, depending on how many calories you're burning, you want to make sure you have a meal plan during the day that gives you basically your calories to survive. And then depending on what kind of workouts, you want to be able to also support that workout caloric function. But at the same time, if you are looking to cut and gain muscle, you would be needing to increase your protein and lower your fats, or sorry, lower your carbohydrates and maybe increasing your fat a little bit. But it does take a lot of time to play with to see how your body adjusts to the different nutrients you are putting in your body. But you also want to make sure there is a deficit in calories.
So tell me, how does one design a plan for themselves to follow? Is it as easy as going online and trying to look up something, or is it I need to go and see a professional and they do a bunch of tests on me? What's the best way moving forward on this?
Well, it depends how much time and energy you want to put into it. If you really want to be very definitive, you can definitely take the time. And what I would suggest is for 2 weeks, basically journaling your eating habits, what you eat, what time, what kind of mood you're in, because sometimes the moods will depict what we're putting in our mouths without us realizing it. And so over those 2 weeks, you can notice a pattern in terms of where your moods are at what times of the day and what you're eating. And then so after those 2 weeks and after realizing the amounts you're eating and how many overall calories you're eating, you may not realize how many calories you're overeating, which can add to not being able to lose the weight you're looking for. And perhaps you might not be eating enough protein, so your body just can't build and repair that muscle tissue.
Okay, so look, I actually went to a professional last year who designed a meal plan for me. But say for someone who's brand new into this and wants to know about how to count their macros, is there like a website they can go to, or is there a simple formula, or what can they do to make their own meal plan? That's what I'm trying to ask here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, what they can do is go to MyFitnessPal. It's an app you can download on your phone, or you can go online and register a profile. And then there you would put in your age, your weight, your height, your activity level, your goals. And then what it will do is actually break down your calories into the macros, depending on what sort of activity you're planning to do. And then it will also allow you to log your own foods to make sure that you're actually hitting those macro values and able to upkeep your caloric value throughout the day, but also not go over it. Because what it will do is as you add in the foods that you're eating, it will actually show the percentage of your macros and calories that you're hitting. For instance, throughout the day, I'll eat 6 small meals a day. So for breakfast, I'll eat half a cup of steel cut oats with half a cup of berries. And then 2 hours later, I will eat an apple with some peanut butter or almond butter. And then another couple hours later, I'll eat a huge green salad with a cup and a half of chickpeas, various vegetables. So as I add those into MyFitnessPal, it counts the calories of each thing that I eat, but it also counts how much protein, fats, and carbohydrates I'm eating, as well as the vitamins that I am consuming as well.
Okay, so you've touched on vitamins for some people. So I've actually got some mixed response from there to say vitamins really work for you, and some people are saying it's a placebo thing. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So years ago, back in the day, when farmers grew their food, they didn't use pesticides. They had their food free of pesticides, so therefore our nutrition value in our soil allowed us to grow food that still kept their nutrients. But at these days, if you go into any, say, Walmart or even any Safeway, what happens is because we are now using pesticides and different chemicals to keep the pests away, that actually denatures the nutrient value of the soil. And therefore, our food doesn't have any nutrient value left.
Hmm.
And then, so that being said, we got to fill in the holes, which means supplementing with vitamins like a multivitamin, vitamin A, C, E, whatever it may be. They should never be relied on instead of eating whole foods. You should always be considering eating organic and whole foods, non-processed foods to maintain your health.
Okay, so um, is a multivitamin, again, you see on the shelves woman multivitamin and a men multivitamin, and then there's an over 50s and an under 50s, and so it's all very confusing. Is there, are you getting a better quality vitamin by paying a little bit more money than a cheaper version at Costco, for argument's sake?
That's a great question. It does depend. The higher the price, the more expensive, I believe. It depends on the company. It's buyer beware. If you look at a vitamin, you should do your research and investigate where those sources of your vitamin come from and what sort of testing they do in those sources. So what I'm saying, I'll give an example. There's mega foods. It's definitely a more expensive and more intensive in terms of nutrient delivery and how it was manufactured. Because literally what happened is the organic farms, they grow these fruits and vegetables, and it's actually not freeze dried, but it is a very low level of heat is basically dried into fruits and vegetables to become a powder that they then press into a tablet.
Mhm.
And the benefit of this tablet is that because it is whole food nutrients, your body is going to see it as food and able to utilize the nutrients in there and also absorb it much better. Whereas, say, a vitamin in Costco, it might be much more manufactured pharmaceutically. So it's going to be a lot more chemicals, a lot more preservatives, a lot more um, kind of external crap just thrown in there. And you might not necessarily be getting the full nutritional value because sometimes they just need to fill up that capsule in terms of manufacturing standards of how much product per capsule needs to be in there to be able to be sold. So if you want a really high quality vitamin, I would definitely recommend doing your own research, because wherever you read, you're going to see different aspects, different perspectives, different ratings of all the different types of vitamins out there. You have to really decide what resonates for you and what your needs are. Like, you can do, say, a multivitamin for everybody, great, it fills in the holes. But if you want to take it a step further, you got to consider what's your activity level, what stage of your life you're in, and what you're looking for from your multivitamin. So say for somebody who's about 50 and older, like a woman, her need for iron is going to be less because she's not menstruating. She's probably going to be experiencing a little bit more stress, so there might be things like ashwagandha, which is a well-known Indian herb to help reduce stress levels. But there's also probably going to be things like Vitex or soy isoflavones or broccoli extract. Those help protect against cancer, as well as help soothe the symptoms of menopause. Or for a man in his 50s or older, they're probably going to have things like pumpkin seed and nettle just to help prevent any prostate cancer. Turmeric to reduce inflammation, as well as maca, which is great for energy, boosts your testosterone, and it helps your body deal with stress. Whereas an athlete, they're going to want a different type of vitamin. They're going to want something that's more rich in greens, like green tea or ginkgo biloba are well-known ingredients in an athlete's vitamin, just because it helps fight off the free radicals and it's a good vasodilator, as well as there might be red beet, which helps with blood flow as well. And then they're probably going to have like B propose to help boost the immune system, L-glutamine to help reduce inflammation, those types of different things.
Oh my God, I didn't know that anyone knew as much as you do on vitamins there. So Fiona, look, we can spend hours and weeks on research, and I've done that for several different things. So what was the brands you suggested that are really good for you?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend any whole food vitamin. So that would be looking at, my favorite is Mega Foods. And then there's New Chapter, there's Garden of Life, and there is another one. It's not coming into my mind right now. Um, It'll come
Okay.
to me later, I'm sure.
Don't worry, send me a link and I'll put it in the description below whenever we come to it. So obviously, just to go back on the question, is the more, well, it's not necessarily the more expensive vitamin, but obviously the reason it's more expensive is because they are using more wholesome foods and less fillers and things like that. So there is a reason why some vitamins cost more than the other vitamins, right? So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say there is a company who is pretty phenomenal in terms of their testing regimes to make sure their products are free of heavy metals and pesticides and anything possible that could harm your body. They're called natural factors. They actually have an enormous buying power. They do have their own farms all over North America and into Europe. And because of that, they don't actually have to buy their products that they need for their vitamins from other manufacturers. And with that, they're able to cut the cost of the process of manufacturing. So even though they have a simple label, their philosophy is that everybody of every income level should have access to amazing products. And
Okay.
Natural Factors has actually been tested to be one of the highest quality products out there. And they have a lot of different vitamins, green powders, and proteins.
So this particular brand is called Natural Factors.
Correct.
Okay. Well, just for the audience out there, I've done a ton of research on different things. I've put side by side the ingredients, checked which has got the greatest ingredients for what I've done. And still, it wasn't one of these ones you've mentioned. And you being in the fitness industry for the past 15 years on nutrition alone, I'll take your word for it, Fiona. I really will, because it'll save me the research, and I'm sure it will save a lot of people out there the research. So if you trust me, and if you trust Fiona out there, who really knows what she's talking about, I would save your research and just go out and get these multivitamins. But let's just go one step further. Multivitamins are there, but there is also other things that you can take to help with your daily regimen of nutrition, like your omega-3 oils and things like that. So what else would you reckon beyond your multivitamin to take on a daily basis?
Well, it depends where you are in your age, if you're older, if you're a teenager, or if you're just kind of in your 30s. I believe anybody of any age should add on a fish oil as well as a probiotic. I would say your multivitamin, probiotic, and fish oil would be your absolute staples and foundation for your health. And then depending where you are in your life, you can add on from there if you choose to.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I think these are really good information. I've been making notes myself because I take a bunch of things, and I just want to just emphasize to the audience out there that you're taking all of these things over and above a good diet. It doesn't mean that this thing, all these multivitamins, the fish oils, the probiotics, will replace a good meal. Am I right on that one, Fiona?
That's absolutely correct. You want to make sure you can get all your vitamins and nutrients from your whole foods that are preferably organic, that still maintain their nutrients. And yeah, your multivitamin, probiotics, as well as your fish oils, they're definitely great enhancements, but they should never be purely relied on to get your nutritional intake.
Okay. All right. All good information out there. So look, Fiona, I want to ask you a couple of really, really basic questions out there, because I think nowadays there's a lot of people who are getting into the fitness movement, which is fantastic. But a lot of people, I would say the majority of people, don't know about the nutrition that kind of goes hand in hand with fitness. So look, if I'm a really basic novice when it comes to nutrition, can you tell me, first of all, what is a good carb and what is a bad carb? That you hear that terminology so often. Is there such a thing as a good carb or a bad carb?
I think carbs, unfortunately, have gotten the name just due to marketing gimmicks. People will call like white rice or something like an apple or something processed like ice cream bad carbs. I agree, ice cream is a bad carb because it's usually full of sugar and dairy and other additives in there. But if you choose to have ice cream, I'd go with something that's more natural, like So Delicious. Or there's another brand made by Marcus. Have definitely less preservatives and they're more whole and natural. They're gluten free. Um, And so if you had decided to treat yourself and go for those sources of like fine processed carbs, they're less processed than most. So I would call that a better carb. Bad carbs would be like candy, highly processed like donuts from Tim Hortons and that, just because they do have a lot of preservatives. But there are ways to make your own donuts and your own candies, but doing it with more healthier ingredients. And so when I say that apples can be, or bananas are sometimes called a bad carb, it's just their glycemic index, or how fast they'll shoot your insulin up, which is your hormone that regulates sugar. And so, or is regulated by sugar. I have to clarify myself on that one. But anyhow, so why the glycemic index is important is because how fast that sugar will be absorbed and utilized in your body. Because if you eat any one of these fruits alone, I mean, they do both have fiber, but if you want lasting energy, it is a good idea to add something like a tablespoon of fat to both carbs to slow down the absorption and have longer lasting energy. Because the slower that carbohydrate absorbs, the more energy you'll have for the rest of the day. Because if you ever noticed with your friends, if you eat something like white rice or processed white bread and have a lot of it, it gives you an instant energy, but then you crash because it's so quick absorbing. So instead, I would recommend like a whole grain bread, or even doing a brown rice or wild rice, because it is actually, because of the husk on the rice grain, it has more fiber, which again slows down the absorption of the carbohydrate.
So are you on the, and I've never done this, but this is new to me. So if I'm having an apple and I have a tablespoon of organic coconut oil,
Uh-huh.
that's what you just said, right? That I should have a little bit of fat to go with it.
Yeah, you can do coconut oil, or you can do a nut butter like almond butter, cashew butter, or peanut butter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Thank you for that. I was actually going to down some oil.
I mean, if you like that, definitely by all means. Like, bodybuilders will take a scoop of protein, mix it in with a tablespoon of coconut oil, and put that on a rice cake as pre-workout energy.
Right. Okay. All right. So look, you mentioned that you had for breakfast steel cut oats. Why steel cut oats compared to instant oats, for argument's sake? Is it just a processing element behind that?
Yeah, exactly. It's with whole steel oats, they're in their most natural form.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take a little bit longer to cook, but it's definitely going to be less processed and less preservatives being put into that product or into that food. And for me, I'm just very sensitive, so I want to make sure everything I put in my body is free of preservatives and is as close to its natural state as possible.
Mm-hmm. And putting all these good foods into your body is obviously going to help with your skin, with your hair, with your nails, with your eyes, and everything else, right? So it's what
That's
you
right.
put in is what you're going to literally get out of it at the end of the day. What
You
about,
are what you eat.
pardon me? You
You
are
are
who
what you
you eat.
eat.
Yeah, absolutely. What about proteins? What can you tell us about proteins, and someone like me who wants to gain muscle now, what percentage of protein should be in my diet?
So you should have, I believe it is 0.75 grams per pound of body weight for your protein intake.
So 0.75 grams
Hmm,
per 1 pound of body weight.
correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. I've always been told it was about a gram per pound of body weight, but you're actually saying it's a little bit less than that, hey?
Well, it is, yeah, roughly it is a gram per pound of body weight. Everybody's body is different. You can see it also depends on your gut and your ability to break that protein down as well. That's why I recommend a probiotic and enzymes, especially if you're going to eat a high content of protein in a diet. Because you can be putting all this good food into your body, but if you're not digesting and breaking it down properly, you're not going to absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, yes. So for proteins, you want to be looking at clean sources. You don't want to be looking at a McDonald's burger. You want to be looking at, if possible, organic grass-fed beef or chicken. And you can also do things like fatty salmon, which is great because it's full of omega-3s, which is great for inflammation and brain function. If you're a vegetarian, you can do chickpeas, lentils, and black beans. There's great grains like quinoa, brown rice, and peas, and different combinations to help boost your protein content.
I actually know of a bodybuilder who is a vegan, and he's huge. He's huge, but he tells me he has pea protein. So I don't even know where you can buy pea protein from, but apparently it's big for him, and it works for him actually.
Yeah, I mean, everybody will be different in terms of what works for them. Pea protein is definitely one of the main majority of proteins that you'll see in a vegetarian protein, again, with things like quinoa, brown rice, coconut, or pumpkin seed in there, as well as egg white. Everybody's body is different and will absorb nutrients differently. Sometimes, for instance, I have to rotate my diet. Suddenly I became bloated off of black beans and quinoa. So I cut that out of my diet and I'm so much less bloated and very much more comfortable. So I'm able to absorb more nutrients and I can see the changes in my body. And then also, like, some people have used vegetarian bodybuilders, even though they eat vegetarian, they'll do a collagen, which is about 10 grams of protein per tablespoon. And then that really makes them jack up as well. It's
Hmm.
all about knowing your calorie content, and actually eating as much food as you need to build that muscle.
Okay, so before I move on to my next one, you mentioned a vegan having collagen.
Hmm.
So
Like,
isn't
I know
collagen?
that's kind of oxymoron, but the collagen really does help boost your collagen and muscle tissue repair, as well as helping your muscles build, also as well as with your own skin on your face and your body.
And
And
where does
usually, typically, vegans, depending on your beliefs, some people won't touch it, others will make it an exception.
I see? And where does collagen come from, Fiona? Just
Yeah, it's actually, there's bovine collagen, which actually comes from cartilage of cows, or you can get fish collagen, which comes from fish scales.
okay. So there is fish collagen out there, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Now, I was again. This is me going back personally here. Um, I I actually have a, a 9 mil tear in my left shoulder, and I have a 6 mil tear in my right shoulder. So someone at the gym, not a doctor, no one, he advised me to start using having beef broth on a daily basis. So is there any advice on that from you? Is it good for you, bad for you? Is it going to start healing me, not healing me? What, why did he say that?
Beef broth is great. It's full of amino acids as well as collagen. It's a more economical way to get your collagen rather than buying it off the shelf. It is definitely good for you. It promotes less inflammation in the body as well as helping build your collagen production. So he was thinking probably the amino acids are going to help heal those tears and reduce the inflammation. And it's also great for healing guts. There's a term called leaky gut, which is caused by maybe stress in your life, alcohol, smoking, a lot of acidic or hot foods. And their biggest recommendation will be collagen or doing a bone broth, such from chicken or beef.
Hmm. Wow. So that there is some goodness in there, hey?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, okay. All right. So that was that's really good information there, Fiona. I just want to know, can you just run by when you were at your competition levels, you touched on it a bit, was you had 6 meals a day. And funny enough, our talk last week was on intermittent fasting. So if you're doing intermittent fasting, there's no way you're going to get 6 meals in a day. But I understand the theory that you want to constantly be feeding your body so it can help grow from the workouts that you've done, especially when you're bodybuilding, right? So
That's right.
when would you do your 6 meals, and what would it typically consist of? So when would you do a breakfast, or when would your first meal be? What would it be?
So it depends, kind of, if you're doing a vegetarian or if you are eating meat. So usually in the morning, I would make pumpkin protein or pumpkin protein muffins, with pumpkin, and then throw in some protein, which would be probably about 10 grams per muffin. And then throw in a scoop or a tablespoon of pumpkin seed protein butter is actually very high in protein. So I'd put that on, or almond butter. Or alternatively, I would have half a cup of oatmeal and just throw in a scoop of my protein powder.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, that would be about an hour. And then I would go and I would do my workout. And then right after my workout would be my protein shake. Maybe an hour and a half later, it would be about half a cup of rice with 15 grams of protein, which would usually be a chicken breast with some vegetables, whether it be peppers, a mixed side salad, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. And then I would have a lunch, which would consist of a big salad with 2 cups of spaghetti squash, or even maybe half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of quinoa. And then again, got your vegetables. And then again, later on, it'd be about 3 o'clock. And then I would have, trying to think here, it'd be lots of vegetables with some protein. So I'm a big salad person. So it'd be another mixed vegetable salad with chicken breast cut up, or maybe a 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds. And then my next meal would be either, depending if I trained or not. If I trained, my meal would be again higher in carbs. Probably say sometimes I would throw in half a cup of oatmeal, or I would eat another pumpkin protein muffin, and then have small carbohydrate or nut butter. And then I would go work out, and then I would, after that, it would be another protein shake with berries, and then I would go to bed. It would also depend on which stage of my training I'm in, if I'm trying to build or if I'm trying to cut, of what would be in those meals.
Wow, wow. It looks like a full-time job just eating, hey?
It totally, absolutely is. It's another full-time job in training and prepping and posing practice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I remember even when you meal prep, when I was trying to eat really clean, there was a couple of things I noticed. First of all, the food isn't really tasty, the good stuff for you, right? If I can be so blunt. And then the second thing is that it's expensive to do a meal prep like that. So,
Well, there are different recipes. I mean, the bodybuilding world has come a long way in terms of developing recipes that are actually really delicious, and using different spices and herbs. And they've actually developed some low-calorie, low-carb sauces, such as barbecue sauce, or even salad dressing. They've come a long way, like, for that, for sure. And yes, it is definitely an investment into your body. You easily spend $200 a week on groceries. Um, it's not cheap, but you're running one machine for the rest of your life, and
mm,
you got to put what you want into it to get the results you're looking for.
mm.
Like,
And
I don't blink an eye at dropping $200 a week on groceries. I mean, sometimes I would include supplements, other times I would not. Or you can even buy in bulk, which actually makes prices a lot less expensive. So going to Costco and buying organic groceries, that would be a good thing. And then if you have somebody that you can split the cost with, so you're not left with a huge pack of turkey and trying to eat it before it goes bad.
right, right, right. Okay, so look, Fiona, you're at competition levels and way, way, way up there, and then there's someone right at the bottom. For them to go from here up to here may be too much of a jump. So, what would be a happy medium in between the two levels there?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I would do the same thing. I would start kind of journaling what you're eating for 2 weeks, see where your calories are at, why you're eating them, what causes you, like your moods. If you're super stressed, people tend to go for high sugar. So say instead of eating something like a bag of Jersey milk chocolates, okay, you want that serotonin hit, which is going to make you feel happy. That sugar is not the greatest for you. So you can do an alternate dessert of maybe protein, Greek yogurt, vanilla, low fat, and throw some berries in there. That'll give you the palate of the sweetness, but yet you're cutting way back on the processed foods and the sugar content. And you're increasing the protein content as well. And so basically the first couple of steps you could do when you're first starting out is cut any pop, any energy drinks, just drink really herbal tea, water. And if you drink coffee, cut it down, like maybe a cup a day to 2 cups, and then cut all processed foods from your diet.
Okay, all right. So you can do this slowly, but the recommendation you're giving to everyone is make a food journal, maybe get an Excel spreadsheet open, write the time down there, what you ate, and
That's
20
right.
minutes, half an hour later, what your mood was like, and maybe rank it from 1 to 10. You were really happy, energetic, or you were feeling really tired and sleepy. You make
Exactly.
your own scales, and then I'm sure within the 2 weeks, there will be a pattern that forms to show you what kind of foods are more suited for you, especially what you mentioned earlier, that every single person is different and what works for someone will not necessarily work for someone else. So start with a journal, right? Is that what you're saying, your
Step
recommendation?
one, journal. Yeah, journal for 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. And then once you've done your 2 weeks and you're happy to say, potatoes really did wonderful things for me. And let's think of something else. And chocolate made me sleep. So
Hmm.
I'm going to increase on my potatoes if that's what it was, just for argument's sake, and ditch my chocolates. Yeah, is that step 2, would you say?
I would group my foods into what make me feel good, what doesn't make me feel good. And then you would want to take a look at your overall calories and your overall calorie count versus using a program like MyFitnessPal. It can actually calculate, according to your weight and height, how many calories you should be actually consuming. And then, so if you've already done the footwork and actually put the calories per servings of the foods you've eaten throughout the week, you can easily make yourself a meal plan for what calories you need just to exist. And then if you know the amount of calories you're burning for a workout, you can also calculate those into your overall caloric intake. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So basically, do a 2 week food journal followed by downloading MyFitnessPal, and then ditch what makes you feel good and put in a different area what doesn't make you feel good and start working from there. Okay,
Right.
all right. And when do you think, or how quick do you anticipate seeing some changes in your body? What would you say? What would be the time frame?
It depends how consistent you are, and also other factors you want to take into consideration that you probably wouldn't think of is stress levels as well as hormonal levels and your ability to get enough sleep, because your body is going to recover best on 7 to 8 hours of sleep rather than 5 or 6.
Mhm.
Research says that if you go to bed at a decent time, you're going to have better recovery. So if you go to bed at like 9:30, 10 versus 11 or 12, your body is going to have better effect for recovering overall. So if you have your sleep in check and you're able to reduce your stress levels or handle them effectively, and you are very consistent, again, everybody's body is different. And if you're knowledgeable about the foods you're putting in your body and also the timings can affect it as well, like eating a big slice of watermelon and bananas and fruits right before you go to bed, that's going to increase the amount of sugar in your body, which is not going to help you sleep. That fine sugars is better to be eaten during the earlier part of the day where your metabolism is at its highest.
Mhm.
So if you're eating the proportions of food as you've journaled and you have everything else in check, should be about 4 to 6 weeks. You should be, don't pay attention to the scale, but how your clothes fit.
Yes, yes, it's the inches that you are losing, not necessarily the weight, right?
Exactly.
Yes, yes. Good point there. Okay, so Fiona, I was just doing some of my own research maybe a few weeks ago, and I found out that uh, people typically, and this particular study I was looking at was focused more on women, and it was saying that from the ages of 25 to 50, on average, most people will gain a pound a year. From 50 to 60, they will gain a pound and a half per year. So there's a couple of things here. So you're gradually increasing your body weight over the years, but especially for the women folk out there, um, there's a critical time between the ages of 45 and 55, for argument's sake, that they go through big changes in their body. What can you recommend for that particular group of people?
You're going to have to be very stringent on your caloric intake as well as your caloric output. Um, because you're at that age with less estrogen, you're going to pack on the pounds, unfortunately. So doing 30 to 60 minutes of exercise every day is going to help maintain your weight, as well as having a diet that supports a healthy weight in terms of the calories that you intake and the types of food. It's going to be extra important to maintain your weight, to stick to a good, healthy diet.
Okay, and when you say exercise, does it mean cardio? Does it mean resistance? Does it mean stretch? Well, what does that part of the exercise mean?
So for everybody, it's going to be different. I mean, throughout as we age, our body starts to not be so elastic, and we don't have so much resiliency in our joints. So whatever that exercise looks like and whatever you're pulled towards, I would recommend doing that, because there's no point forcing somebody who loves yoga to go to high intensity cardiovascular training. You got to do what pleases you and what's going to make you go consistently, but also just being mindful of the different calories that you are going to be burning. So if you're going to do low impact exercise, you're going to want to do it more frequently than, say, if you like to do high intensity exercise and maybe do it every other day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is that maybe half an hour of a HIIT class um, may not be an equivalent to half an hour of walking, for argument's sake, right?
Exactly, that's
Yeah.
right.
Right. So the intensity does matter there. Okay. So Fiona, look, first of all, I really, really want to thank you. Your knowledge is amazing on nutrition. And I think from our video last week, which we had the highest number of hits, and the talk was on nutrition, and we would absolutely love for you to come back and see us maybe in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever would work for you. I know you're a busy person, but we would love to share some of your knowledge you have inside you, because again, there is a gazillion. If you look up any one particular thing on our favorite Google, thousands and thousands of documentations come up, um, and sometimes I get more confused than before I even started. So I really respect your knowledge. I think what you've achieved is amazing. And if you don't mind, please come and see us again.
I would love to. Absolutely. I'm here to help the masses. And if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Oh, fantastic. So look, if anyone does have any questions, put it down in the comments and I will make sure that this information gets to Fiona, and hopefully we can get these answered for you directly from Fiona. And if not, maybe we can do some of them question and answer sessions next time when we're together. And again,
Absolutely.
for the audience that's out there, if you have a topic that you want to get covered, you've seen what Fiona what information she knows. I think she knows everything about everything regarding nutrition. So we are really lucky to have you, Fiona. So thank you so much.
My
Uh,
absolute pleasure.
and we'll talk to you guys again very soon. Take care and have a wonderful day.
Have a great weekend.